Good afternoon, YouTube, BookTube. This is Johnny. I made a video this morning on another camera, an older camera. I have this camera I bought years ago, and the only way it will work is if you put the battery in and then it comes on. But you can't turn it on and off with the button. You have to put in the battery and then it turns on. And if you leave the battery in that camera, it's a small camera, the battery goes dead. This is a camera I bought, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. I like to buy a new camera, but I can't justify it because this camera works. I basically, like I said in my videos, I take pictures of the birds by our bird feeder outside our kitchen window. And I take pictures of the flowers in my wildflower garden and other flowers growing on our property. And sometimes if I go for a walk, which I don't do anymore, I'm becoming more just stay inside the hermit hut. I would take my camera and take photos of trees and nature and things like that, but I don't do that anymore. I get kind of tired of it. We've been living in this area going on 34 years, and you go the same places over and over and over again. And one thing I've noticed that the parks are overrun. They're used a lot. So you go for a walk and you see the nature, then you see a piece of trash. Somebody walk and just throw out their McDonald's package on the trail, or a beer can, or it gets kind of, you don't have pristine nature. It's all been trampled and garbaged, and it's not really nature in its wild state. Anyway, it is 1:28 in the afternoon here in southwest Michigan. It is still September the 19th, 2024. It is a Thursday. It's 83 degrees outside the house. So I haven't been outside. It's supposed to cool off. It might rain tomorrow. Everything is really extremely dry here. So what I thought I'd do in this video, since I told you my wife is gone until next Monday, I'm a free bird. I can sit here and make videos and ramble and show you what my books, because my life is basically God writing and books, and my family, my wife and my children and grandchildren. And we don't have a dog anymore. We've had dogs. We had a dog. We bought a dog when we lived in Houston, Texas, named Macintosh. He was a West Highland Terrier, and we bought him from a breeder. He was a purebred. He was a really expensive dog. Cost us $500 for him. And he lived for almost 13, 14 years until we moved up here to Holland, Michigan. And then he became senile. He just could no longer, he just lost his mind. And then we had another dog named Rudy, who was some kind of terrier mix. And we had him for 13 years. And then he got cancer in his lymph nodes, and we had to put him down. But we don't have a dog anymore since, I think Rudy died in 2016. But as I told you, our oldest son down the street, he has a dog named Ollie, who's a Norwich Terrier, and he's kind of like our grand dog. We take care of him when Caleb and Emily and the girls go somewhere, or Caleb needs, we just watch him off and on. So he's kind of like our dog experience. It always amazes me, people in their 70s and 80s, they get dogs, and they're a lot of work. That's why we don't have a dog. A dog is a lot of work, because dogs, you gotta give them shots, you gotta give them baths, grooming. They get sick. They need to be taken care of. Taken for walks, socialize them, things like that. And too much work for us in old age. So in this video, I showed you what I read in the mornings up until noon, and now it's 1:31. And usually I read nonfiction in the afternoons, and because I get kind of sleepy, I don't know, I have this rhythm, when I go through the afternoon, I go through the mornings, I'm kind of awake, and then around noon I have lunch, and then I have from about 1 to 4:30 I'm kind of lethargic, and so I sit in my chair in the living room and I just read and I doze. But what I've been reading as far as nonfiction, well, today I mentioned I went to Northside thrift stores yesterday and I found this book, and I've been reading it yesterday and maybe this afternoon. It's Quentin Tarantino's memoir, Cinema Speculation. There's a picture of him. Yeah, it's his, it says here, organized around key American films from the 1970s, all of which Quentin Tarantino first saw as a young moviegoer at the time. Cinema Speculation is intellectually vigorous and insightful as it is erotically and entertaining. Yeah, I'm not really into movies, even though I keep track of that kind of stuff, because as part of being a student of American history, American culture, American literary history, I'm aware of what's going on in popular culture, movies. I don't watch TV anymore because I realized, I don't know how many years ago, I'd rather write and read at night, or mainly read at night. And plus I find television to be not reality. It's not my reality. My reality is God, the Bible, Jesus Christ, the world to come. I'd rather focus, that to me is reality. This world, as I always say, is just, it's not really reality. Reality is knowing Jesus Christ. Reality is being saved by Jesus Christ. Reality is loving Jesus Christ. Reality is living a life of holiness, seeking the world to come. And television is just, it's just a big lie. So I don't watch it, but I do read this because I have watched some films from the 70s, and I read stuff that I don't always have an attachment to. It's just what I read, even though I find it to be meaningless. Now, I have thought that some of the movies that was mentioned in here, we have Amazon Prime, and I could watch some of the movies he's mentioned in here. Some of the movies I remember, like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Easy Rider. He mentions the movies in the beginning here, MASH, Ryan's Daughter, 5 Easy Pieces, Love Story. I remember I saw Love Story when I was in high school. No, I wasn't. Yeah, Love Story came out in 1970, just around I finished high school. Yeah, because I remember it was just around the time that I broke up with my girlfriend from high school, and we went and saw Love Story in San Francisco. And so anyway, some of the movies I remember, some I saw on TV. When I was watching TV, we subscribed to movie channels, and I like the old movies from the 60s and 50s and 40s. but we don't, like I said, I've gotten out of watching movies. So anyway, I might read this afternoon for nonfiction. I was reading this book I got from Verso, but I got both these books. No, I got this one from Verso, and it's kind of very intellectually heavy, and it's kind of heavy reading. It's called Leaving the 20th Century, Situationist Revolutions by McKenzie Wark. And I'm finding it, I did find it interesting somewhat, but it demands a lot of thinking. In the afternoons, like I said, I'm kind of lethargic. And I also showed you this book, Disposable Futures, The Seduction of Violence in the Age of Spectacle by Brad Evans and Henry A. Giroux. This is also heavy. Maybe I can read this early evening, or if I'm sitting outside in the front and it's cool outside, and I can read this and kind of read it slowly and try to digest it. I also have been reading, as far as nonfiction, The Unknowable in Early Modern Thought, Natural Philosophy and the Poetics of the Ineffable by Killeem. Yeah, I've been reading this off and on since I got it. That's a couple of weeks ago. So I can always read this in the afternoons if I feel up to it. Also, I've been reading Understanding Brecht by Walter Benjamin. I read this off and on. These are all nonfiction kind of books I would read. And this is by Eric Hazan, Balzac's Paris, the City as a Human Comedy. I haven't read this in a while, but I keep it on my table over there by my reading chair, because I still keep, if I want to get into something like this for nonfiction in the afternoons. Also, I've been reading for nonfiction by Mavis, Gallant, Paris Notebook, Essays and Reviews. So I keep these things as things I would maybe in the mood to read. I'm a mood reader, and sometimes I read this. And then I've been reading, I'm almost done with this book, Wonder Confronts. There's something on this book. Wonder Confronts Certainty, Russian Writers on the Timeless Questions and Why Their Answers Matter. I'm almost done with this. I got maybe, a lot of it is, maybe I got another 150 pages of this. Really recommend this. I've really been insightful reading this. So those are my nonfiction kind of books that I would read from around 1 o'clock till maybe 5:30, 6. Now sometimes when the weather's really nice, my wife and I, we sit outside in the front in our driveway in lawn chairs, and we water the gardens, or we water the plants, and I read, and I usually read maybe a book like this, Wonder Confronts Certainty, or I'll read The Unknowable and Early Thought, The Unknowable and Early Modern Thought, Natural Philosophy and the Poetics of the Ineffable, or I'll read Disposable Futures, The Seduction of Violence in the Age of Spectacle. But I think this afternoon, since I got this yesterday, I'll read this. And maybe I'll look at some trailers and YouTube on the movies. Some movies in here I don't recognize. I'll look at the trailers and YouTube by Tarantino, Cinema Speculation. So I got that. So those are the things I might read for nonfiction. Now, before I go on here, I did get a new CD in the mail last week. I got the new Mercury Rev CD, Born Horses. I really like the music of Mercury Rev. This is Mercury Rev. This one came out in, well, I don't know when this thing came out. Anyway, I collect the music of Mercury Rev. This is Mercury, Yourself is Steam. And then this is the Essential Mercury Rev. Stillness Breathes, 1991 to 2006. Yeah, they put out, this is my favorite Mercury Rev, Deserters Songs. This is deluxe edition. And this is the regular edition. Then Mercury Rev, See You on the Other Side. Mercury Rev, The Light in You. Mercury Rev, All is Dream. Yeah, it's kind of ambient, kind of psychedelic pop, dreamy, spoken word poetry. This is Mercury Rev, Snowflake Midnight. And then Mercury Rev, The Secret Migration. Yeah, I like the music of Mercury Rev. And so this is their new one, just came out. So, yeah, I like music, even though I told you I'm going deaf and I have a lot of hearing problems, but I still buy music. Now, as far as in the evenings, I read fiction, and I've been reading, I showed you this. This is by Chevengur, I can't pronounce it, but this is Andrey Platonov. Chevengur, I can't pronounce it, but this is translated out of the Russian by Robert Chandler and Elizabeth Chandler. I'm almost done with this. What does I do? I read this in the evenings, and then the next night I'll read this. I'm almost done with a Glastonbury romance. I'm almost done. I've read 1,001 pages, and it's 1,120 pages. So I got 119 pages left in this. So I'll read this. I read this last night, and so tonight I'll read this. And once I get these two done, I'm going to read Patient X by David Peace, the case, a book of, I can't pronounce it, this Chinese writer or Japanese writer, I can't remember. He's a Japanese writer, this fellow at the bottom. It's kind of like, it's hard to explain what this is, but I bought it and I plan to read it. And I want to get back into reading this. 10 minutes, 38 seconds in this strange world, a novel by E.S. Şafak, a Turkish writer. She has a new book out, but this is the one I ordered. And I started reading it, but I'm going to read these when I finish reading these. So these are kind of like my fiction in like from 6 until 11 o'clock, 11:30. I'm still keeping Boredom up here by Alberto Moreno. I still, usually at something like this, I'll read a chapter. I'm not too impressed by it, but I haven't put it away yet. And I haven't put away Mrs. McIntosh, My Darling by Margaret Young. I still want to finish this. I just have to make a commitment. So these are my fiction selections I keep up here by me in my to be read pile. Mrs. McIntosh, My Darling, Boredom by Alberto Moreno, 10 Minutes, 38 Seconds in This Strange World, a novel by Alfred Shavak. She's a Turkish writer. Can't pronounce her name. Want to get into reading Patient X by David Peace, a case book of this Japanese writer, very famous short story writer. Going to finish this Russian novel. It was written back in, I think it was written back in, well, the writer lived from 1899 and he died in 1951. So I think this is around the 40s. And I will be reading John Cowper Powys' A Glastonbury Romance. So those are the kind of books I read. Oh, just went out of focus. So I have lots to read. When I'm not reading, I'm writing. I write in my online diary, Crooked Fingers, around 2:30 to 3 o'clock, 3:30. And right now it's going on 2 o'clock, so I'll probably write early in my online diary. What I do is I paste what I write in Crooked Fingers into WordPress, Diaryland, and another blog site, 3 other sites. I just paste it in there. Just something I do. And usually I write in my paper diary. Well, now that my wife is gone, I'll probably keep it on the table here and write up until usually I keep a composition book downstairs on my table downstairs, and when I go to bed at night, usually I go downstairs around 9:30, 9 o'clock, and I read until 11 or 11:30, and I write in my composition book. So that's basically what I'm going to do. I got a book supposed to be a book delivered by Amazon today, but I got a suspicion that it's not, because it's not out for delivery, and it said supposed to be here by 10 o'clock. Sometimes Amazon will tell you they're going to deliver a book, and then by 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, you'll get an email saying it's been delayed and you'll get it tomorrow. It's a non-fiction book. I'll show you when I get it. And I will show you those used books I got yesterday and the day before from thrift stores. But I just want to show you that I am a reader, I'm a writer, I'm a dreamer, I am a mystic, I'm a Christian, a follower of Jesus. I seek to live according to the Bible, and I am growing old. Yeah, it's kind of strange. I keep thinking Carol's going to show up, but she's not. Now, she said she'd call me around 9 o'clock tonight. They're just going 3 hours north here in Michigan, some resort. And so she's not that far away. And I have my little cell phone. She said I can call her anytime. I don't really have an iPhone. I have this little tiny flip phone that she got this phone years ago when she had a lady friend that she would visit named, her name was Patty. I think her name was Patty. But she died, and Carol had got this phone for her so she could call her sister at night. And when she died, I got, I think her name was Patty. Doesn't sound right. But anyway, I just use it to talk to my wife or my kids. I don't really talk to anybody on the phone except our children and my wife. So yeah, so check out Mercury Rev. It's a spoken word. It's not really singing in this one. He's kind of influenced by the beats like Jack Kerouac and the Dharma Bums. But yeah, I like Mercury Rev. I have for years. Mercury Rev. So I got him out. Maybe I'll have a Mercury Rev marathon now that my wife is gone. But I prefer just sitting and just listening to the buzzing in my ear, or reading, or dreaming, or contemplating, or praying. This is, like I said, my favorite Mercury Rev Deserter songs, and also the Essential Mercury Rev. I might listen to these today, one of these. Well, I have been listening to the new one, Born Horses. So yeah, I will read this afternoon. Oh, let me go. I'll read after I close down this video, and I'll look up maybe some of the films in YouTube and look at trailers. I look at a lot of movie trailers, even though I don't go to movies. My favorite shows are in PBS, which is nature. I like watching nature shows. I like watching college football on mute, professional football tonight. Amazon Prime has football on Thursday. Tonight's the Jets and the Patriots. I might watch some of it, but I'll probably go to bed. I'll go downstairs at halftime and read and write, or just read until 11:30. So I hope you're having a good Thursday. Thank you for comments. Like I said, since my wife is gone and I won't have any interruptions, nobody's going to call, nobody's going to come knocking on the door saying if you're still alive. And I'll just chill. I'll just read and write and dream and pray and seek the Lord. So I hope you, like again, I'll probably make a video tomorrow showing those used books. Friday reads. Friday reads. Nothing really else. I thought about talking about, I saw my psychologist Tuesday after 6 weeks, and I thought about talking about that, some thoughts I had and reflections about my mental health, but basically how I keep myself sane in this insane, absurd wasteland world is that by faith, I'm always exercising faith and looking to the Lord Jesus Christ for grace to get from the morning and afternoon and evening and night. Morning, afternoon, evening, and night. I just focus my faith upon the Lord Jesus Christ. It reminds me of that verse in Hebrews. We just finished Hebrews this morning before my wife left to go on her getaway with her girlfriends. We start reading the epistle to James. We finished Hebrews. But there is, in chapter 11 of Hebrews, verse 1, it says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. For by the elders obtained a good testimony. By faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made of the things which are visible. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for." So my hope is that after this life of faith, it'll be a life of sight. As I showed you that book this morning, we will see God. That's a verse. There's a verse in 1 John. It says, "Beloved," it says in 1 John chapter 3, verse 2, "Beloved, now we are the children of God, and it has not yet been revealed what we shall be. But we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And everyone who has this hope in him purifies himself just as he is pure. And we know that when he is revealed, the second coming, we shall be like him, will be transformed, perfected, for we shall see him as he is." So with that, I will close, and until next time, Bye.